Macaulay Bonne, 1-0. Lee Evans, 2-0. Lee Evans, 3-0. Macaulay Bonne won a goal, 4-0. Lee Evans hat-trick, 5-0. I went early there with the finger, if you're watching. George Edmondson, 6-0. 6 bloody nil. Ipswich Town have won 6 bloody nil. Doncaster Rovers, your boys have taken one hell of a beating. My name is Mark Heath. Welcome to a very happy midweek Kings of Anglia Ipswich Town podcast. Ipswich Town, we are up and running, baby. And I'm your host. And with me to celebrate and delve deep into the positivity around a 6-0 win, Andy, Hutch, Hogan, Warren. How are you?
I'm good, mate. It's 10 to 10 on Thursday. Have you been this pumped since 10 o'clock on Tuesday night? How have you managed to? How have you got this far? What have you been doing to make it this far on such a pump?
I'm excited, mate. As we've just been saying before we started recording, this is the biggest win we've ever had as a podcast since we started recording. 6-0. Ipswich Town beat Doncaster Rovers on Tuesday night. We are going to unapologetically delve right in and bathe in the waters of this 6-0 victory. We're going to be positive. We're going to relish it. We're going to enjoy it, friends. So hopefully you'll enjoy it with us. Where should we start, Andy? Going into this game, obviously Town unbeaten in 2. We said on paper it was the opportunity for them to really get their season up and running against the rock-bottom Doncaster side, who had just travelled all the way to Plymouth and lost, and then come back with their tails between their legs all the way to Suffolk on a Tuesday night. We were not expecting 6 bloody goals. Could have been 7, by the way, which would have tied Town's record league win. Your opening thoughts, please.
Can we just start by getting the boring bit out of the way by saying that Doncaster were rubbish? They were. Let's get that out of the way because it doesn't really matter. They were really poor. And I think they're in a world of trouble this season. But that's not the real issue, is it? This is about Ipswich. We needed them to show us something, and irrespective of the opposition, I think they would have beaten most teams in the league the way they played on Tuesday night. So let's get that caveat out of the way early, and now we can, like you say, indulge in what was a feast of football as it rained goals at Portman Road.
You boys were waxing lyrical on Tuesday, and I could tell after the game. You and Stu obviously did your little video recap, and Hutchie, you had a little grin on your face you could not wipe off. It made me smile, and also made me smile watching the game day posse really soaking in the 6-0. It's so nice to see so many smiles and people being happy, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? How rarely do you get to see your team win 6-0, especially after the start of the season they've had? It's this kind of feeling of relief and emotion, and it does make everything better and easier, doesn't it, Hutchie? So
it does.
What was your kind of main takeaways from the game? Obviously, we'll talk about it in depth. We make no apologies for bathing in it, like I say, for really indulging ourselves in it. What impressed you? Obviously, in the ratings, your imperceptible Kylie Minogue aura ratings, Lee Evans got a 10, which is the first time I've ever seen you give a 10. So what stood out for you from the tonking of Doncaster Rovers?
I think it's the first time I've given anybody a 10 covering any team ever.
Nice.
And you can't not when a holding midfielder who is told by his manager you're not allowed to get into the box, indeed does get into the box, scores 3, and also sets up another one. Plus the Minogue aura side of it, he's had a tough start to the season. That goes into it as well. It all feeds in. He played very, very well, but he by no means was the only one. But the thing that impressed me most is that, they were 2-0 up. They were cruising. From the moment Macaulay Bonne gave them the lead, they were cruising in this game. And look, they should have gone on to win it from 2-0 up, whatever happened. But the thing that impressed me most is that at 2-0, sort of as the second half drew on a little bit, Doncaster, without going overboard, sort of came into the game a little bit and began to threaten. And the thing that impressed me is that when that happened, Ipswich stayed positive, stamped on their throats, and scored 4 goals in 10 minutes just to see that through. Because we've seen so many times, haven't we, that different incarnations of Ipswich teams have gone 2-0 up and let in a stupid goal. And then that leads to the jitters, and what was a comfortable night becomes a really uncomfortable one that they're trying to see out. But they none of that. got the job done, and 4 goals in 10 minutes is a lot of fun in a football stadium when there's 18,000 people in there. That was a brilliant whirlwind of football for 10 minutes.
Oh, it was great. I mean, peek behind the curtain time. It wasn't a lot of fun for me because, friends, the star deadline is very early on a match day night, so I have to write the back page, basically, essentially from you and Stewie's tweets. It's basically just a roundup of what's happened, who scored. So I'd written it. Town had won 3-0, and then suddenly they were 5-0 up next time I refreshed Twitter. So I was swearing verily at the wife who was laughing at me through the other room, and then it obviously ended up 6-0. So a lot of hasty rewriting was going on, but I don't mind. I enjoyed it. Hutchie, obviously the main narrative, I guess, going into this game was the Egyptian king Sam Morsy making his league debut. Cook had promised he'd bring 10 times the values that Town needed into the game following the 5-2 defeat against Bolton. Obviously, he was wrong there. They were only 3 times better than those 2 goals they scored. So again, Cook still making mistakes. But what did you make of Sam Morsy and what he brought to the team? Because everyone was gushing about him post-game. All the guys on game day saying, what a player. So is he the final piece of the puzzle that is really going to make this Town team tick?
Gotta hope so. He was pure class. I think Stu said a couple of times during the game that maybe likened him to Jim Magilton in terms of wanting the ball. Maybe not quite as expansive as Jim, but I think he's a really good, on first viewing, and it is only on first viewing, he's a really good combination of sort of some of the characteristics of Jim Magilton and some of the characteristics of Matt Holland in there, which combines to make it, without going overboard at this stage, because they were 2 incredible players for the football club at higher levels than this. But the characteristics that combines to make a really good midfielder, doesn't it? Do a bit of everything. He can pass the ball. He's got some vision. He's tough. He can turn out of tight areas. He's got some drive in his legs. I like the way he improvises with some of his passing. Just a desire to move the ball on quicker. It's not always the usual pass you'd expect. He maybe shovels it with the back of his foot and just moves the ball around. And I think with Lee Evans, there's clearly a partnership there. They've played 80 games together. They know what they're doing. And for Paul Cook to be able to get that on the field finally, I think he'll be a relieved man, because that was the area the team was struggling.
Should we talk a little bit about that partnership? Because clearly you kind of touched on it earlier that Evans had struggled to start his Town career playing alongside Rakim Harper, and he comes back from injury, first game alongside his old pal Sam Morsy, and gets a hat-trick and an assist. And I know in the quotes post-game, Evans talks about how he and Harper are maybe a bit too similar, but with Morsy, they know exactly what each other's doing. Morsy happy to sit a bit further back and let Evans go forward, so there's not that kind of yawning chasm which was happening in games. Is that how you see it, and that how it's going to work?
Yeah, for me, Evans was trying to, well, probably having to be Sam Morsy for the first few games of this season. Paul Cook wants his team to play exactly the same. Those 2 lads will have signed for this club knowing the football they're going to be asked to play, but without Sam Morsy for the first 6 weeks of this season, someone had to do that, and Evans was the one tasked with doing it. But he's Lee Evans in that midfield. The midfield is Morsy and Evans was being asked to be Morsy, and I think that's where it fell down. We've spoken about it a lot. He's probably right to say that he and Harper are too similar, but I think you got it bang on there. I think there's they know what each other is going to do. They'll cover for each other. Morsy probably covering Evans more so than the other way around, but they both know what they're doing, and the midfield isn't going to produce 3 goals and an assist every night. But what it should do, and what it hopefully will do from now on, is produce just a solid platform for the team that simply wasn't there before. I think you'd do well to find a team that would allow that midfield to get overrun later in this season. There will be games where they find it harder than others. This Doncaster team, they were rubbish, but that's not to take anything away from the steps we saw from Ipswich in this game, because, like you say, these nights don't come around very often. Come away positive. You're still absolutely buzzing now from all. I assume you've just been on a high for 48 hours, 36 hours, and
haven't we all though? That's the beauty of it, isn't it? a result like this, it carries you for days.
It carried me through the kids' indoor play centre that I was at yesterday. I'll tell you.
Good, good Lord.
It was those could be tough places,
Yeah.
but it kept me going.
Good. Can we take a small appreciation break also for Macaulay Bonne, who scored another 2 goals? It's almost like obviously Bonne scored. So he's now on 7 for the season. Statistically, the top striker in League One in terms of minutes per goal, 82 minutes per goal, so more than a goal a game. His second goal as well, Hutchie, was another absolute worldie. I mean, Bonne's on fire. We were expecting him to be good, yes, but we were not expecting this.
This it's a dream, isn't it?
Yeah.
The only thing that could be better would be for the team to not be sort of where they are in the table and for them to be sort of around the top 2. That's the only thing that could really have gone better for Bonne so far, aside from Cheltenham, of course. But we've forgotten about that now.
Yeah.
He's ticking every box, isn't he? Like I saw on Saturday night. I wasn't around on Saturday, but on Saturday night I saw his little number against Sheffield Wednesday. What a Sheffield Wednesday doing, by the way? How can you allow that to happen in the 90th minute of a game? Dominic Iorf was looking at Bailey Peacock Farrell there. Just doesn't tell him.
Exactly. No one thinks to say there's a player standing right behind you.
Pathetic, absolutely pathetic. But Pond's made that happen, like you say. He's Johnny on the spot to score the first goal. Good positioning. He knows where Burns is going to put that ball. He's there, tap in, job done. And then, like you say, the second goal, to take that on your chest and kind of be moving away from goal and kind of on your wrong foot to swivel and put that in the bottom corner was brilliant goal. He's got all the strings to his bow. It seems a really good all round striker at this level, and it's a dream. It's a dream loan for a lad that probably thought this was never gonna happen for him at his boyhood club, which he clearly loves so much. It just makes it all so much better, doesn't it? That there's a Chantry boy in this team doing that. It's brilliant.
Absolutely, it is fantastic, and as you say, the fact he's one of our own makes it all the sweeter. So when does Mark Ashton grab his large testicles and a big bag of money and drive it to QPR and say, we are keeping Macaulay Bonne, you're not having him back, he doesn't want to come back, this is perfect? When does he do that? Do we start thinking about it now?
I'd hope they're talking about it now. I think they've got to be talking about it now. Clearly it can't be done officially until January, but I'd have thought they'd be willing on all sides for this to be done. I'm not sure. QPR have got striking options. I think for them to want to hang on to him, I can't see it. I can't see them being desperate to hang on to him. I can't see Macaulay being desperate to go back. Yes, he can go back and be a championship player, but he can be the main man at his club, hopefully at the top end of League One, and then the championship next season. I can't see him wanting to go back, and there's no reason for Ipswich not to want to make this permanent. So I would hope there's some real conversations internally happening now, and see where that leads.
A penny for Joe Piggott's thoughts. You wonder what he's thinking, because he was brought in essentially to be the star striker, the top man, and Bond's just exploded. And obviously, it's fantastic that Town are winning, but you have to wonder what Piggott is thinking, sat on the bench. Anyway, we don't want to delve into negativity, Hutchie. We want to thrive in positivity. And the 6th goal, which is perfect in a 6-0 win, is when your big lump of a defender gets on the score sheet as well. Edmondson, the fridge. A perfect way to cap the night. I suppose the best way would have been if Rakim Harper's shot had gone in. It was 7-0, but still nice for a defender to get on the score sheet as part of a rout.
Yeah, I like goals like that as well. That just like really good ball, dangerous area in that corridor of uncertainty, and a really good, clever little move in there to stab it in. Good movement. And job done. It was a good goal.
I'd just like to say as well, when we're using terms like corridor of uncertainty, you used it already in this podcast, but I loved it when I saw that you'd written that Town had stamped on Doncaster's throats.
I thought you would.
I was like, yes, this is my sort of lingo. It reminds me of when I was back starting out in the old fight game, and a trainer told me about about people kind of starting out competing, and this maybe struggling to begin with. He said, sometimes, mate, you just need to beat up a muppet and get some confidence. So that kind of works here, I reckon. Town of I'm not saying Doncaster are muppets, but they've
No, they were. Yeah, they were.
A lesser side in this league. Town have beaten them up, and no doubt that they've got confidence from this. What else shall we talk about, Hutchie, in terms of the 6-0? Clearly, there were great performances all over the pitch. We've talked about Morsey, we've talked about Evans, we've talked about Bon. Who else is worthy of praise?
I think they're all worthy of praise in their own ways. Selina, Selina's the Selina that I remember. You can tell every time he gets the ball that he's got ability. Ability oozes from him, even if it's just playing a simple pass. He plays it differently to other players, but he doesn't always. Going back to the original loan where he was here first time, he doesn't always. He's not gripping games. He's not pure like 100% on the ball every time, dominant. But my memories of Selina from last time a little hazy. We've been through some tough times here since those days of 2017-18, and my memories have been muddied by miserable football. But my memories of Selina is that he could just turn it on in a big moment, and light up a game, and he was central to that kind of blitz of four goals in 10 minutes. Can we say blitz? Can we call it? Are we allowed to call it a blitz?
A goal blitz? Yeah, why not?
Yeah, let's call it a goal blitz.
Blitz is short for blitzkrieg, isn't it? Which means at pace. So
yeah, okay, let's say it. Not with a capital B.
No.
And he was central to that, providing the balls for Evans' second goal, and then for that good Bond goal that we've talked about there. And then I think he came off straight away after that. And that was his final touch. So yeah, he's the Bertrand Selina I remember. Just suddenly he will affect a game and produce some moments of quality for his team. And I'm looking forward to him scoring his first goal, because that's going to be a really popular one when it does eventually come.
Can we talk about Scott Fraser? Clearly playing on the left, not his kind of picked position. If he had a choice, I'm sure he'd be playing number 10. But he's in the side. Clearly, though, there's going to be an issue when Carl Edwards is fit, who you would imagine would be the first choice on that left-hand side. So where do you stand on Fraser, his contribution to the team, and what to do with him when Edwards is back fit?
I think he benefits from Selina being in the side. If he is going to play that left side, actually, when those goals started to come, Cook had tinkered with it a little bit and put Selina wider, and Fraser came a little more central, and that helped him. But even if he is lining up on that left side, he's growing on me in that role, because Selina's that bit more mobile perhaps than the number 10s that have been there previously alongside Fraser. Like, so Selina will kind of go down the out. He'll roam, which means Fraser can roam a little bit, and they're working well together, those two. You can see Fraser's class on the ball. Going back to the Sheffield Wednesday game, that the poise that Scott Fraser showed to play the pass for Chaplin for the equaliser against Wednesday. I was saying to Stu the other night, so many players from last season's Ipswich Town side would have just hashed at that ball and smacked it had a first time shot and ended up in the crowd behind. So his poise and class on the ball is showing. He's not mobile hugely. He's not a runner. He's not going to run the channels for you. But I guess when you've got flying fullbacks whose job it is to run that channel, and you've got Selina who's happy to move around in search of the ball, you can use a player like that more, and he's growing into it a lot more. You said about Joe Pigott a minute ago. There's gonna be a fair few players that are going to be wondering where their next games are coming from at times, because this is a squad with, especially in those attacking areas, we know just how many options there are. Well, I think Edwards being back at some point hopefully may mean that Wes Burns doesn't have to be flogged every week, because we know he's got this on-running Achilles problem. But he's been brilliant. He's surpassed the expectations I had for him, if I'm honest. if they just get him on the ball with space in front of him and a one-on-one kind of match up with a fullback, it's like this is kind of the seats at Portman Road clattering up as people stand up time. It's getting towards that because we know what he's going to do. He's going to knock a ball past and he's going to run. So I would like to see him maybe given a little bit of a break at some point because I worry that you might just push him that bit too far. And then an Achilles is a tough one, but there are options to do that. So yeah, we probably talked about all the players in that attacking area now, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, as a whole, the team, I mean, clearly the team has been kind of struggling to settle at the start of the season. There've been selection issues and people have been tried in different positions and stuff. Excuse me. But now it feels like almost kind of organically that this team is picking itself. The 11 now, Benson, stop that. Apologies. Benson's come into the studio and he's got one of my shoes. My dress shoes, my expensive dress shoes. Benson, stop it! Stop it! This is good audio, isn't it?
This is can we see? Are you able to tilt the camera to see the?
I'll try. I don't know if you can.
Where is he? Oh, there's Drynan.
There he is.
Oh
look.
no!
So you can see the shoe that he's just been mauling. Yeah, I've got a trip away this weekend on fight business. I'm staying in some ropey hotel in Crystal Palace. I've started the packing process, and Benson's taken it upon himself here to savage my smart shoes for fight night, which I'm not at all impressed by. Anyway,
no,
exactly. Less of that, please. Behave yourself. Not listening to me.
Anyway,
I was saying before the hound got hold of my expensive shoes is that the team now, it's maybe not what we expected before the season. Certainly with the likes of the Donacents at right back. And Bon as a first name on the team sheet up front, but this feels like the 11, doesn't it? That can carry Town forward.
It's getting there, isn't it? It's partnerships, and we knew that there were some partnerships that needed to form. The midfield partnership has kind of been brought in, sort of oven ready from the Wigan days, but it took a little while for them to both arrive at the same time and be paired up. So that's done. Centre-back partnership, pretty clear from the outset that the preferred centre-back partnership would be George Edmondson and Cameron Burgess. Took a while to get them both on the field together, and that's coming together. I hadn't realised this, actually. These two had played a game together before coming to Ipswich, played one match together when I think Burgess, they were both at Oldham in 2016, I believe it was. They played a whatever the pizza trophy was then at that point, and they Oldham lost 5-4 at home to Carlisle.
Wow.
So they conceded 5. Burgess scored an own goal in that game as well. So they conceded 5 on their first game together. Then they played their first game together for Ipswich, was against Bolton. They conceded 5 then, but ever since they've been great, and they're growing as a partnership as well. So it's all about those partnerships around the pitch, like Penny and Fraser. That's a newer partnership down the left, but on the other side, Donastian and Burns you could see there's the club put out a little video of the two of them with a nice little handshake after the game, and they're working really well together. It's about partnerships, and like we talked about gelling a lot, haven't we? Almost to the point of boredom, talking about gelling. But I think we're seeing it happen. We are seeing it happen. So it's hard not to feel positive about it all.
Where do you stand on the Penny Coulson debate? 'Cause obviously Penny's come in and done well the last couple of games. Is it his shirt to kind of lose going forward, would you say?
I don't think Coulson's going to be available for this weekend, from what I gather, in any case. But if he was, I think it'd be incredibly harsh on Penny to leave him out. Like Coulson's played well. He has played well. He's clearly a very good player, but not to the point that I'd be putting him straight back into the team necessarily. Certainly not after a 6-0 win. I think you have to go with this side again, in all positions. That includes the goalkeeper. Whether Christian Walton's available again, we don't know. But even if he is, there's no reason to leave Fladkey out. at
But-
the moment. So
and also on that point, I mean, thinking about it, Town's rocky start to the season, we've got players who've already shown great character to bounce
Yep.
back, haven't we? I mean, Hladky there you've mentioned had a bad start to the season. He got benched. He's now back in the side and looking good. I mean, they've only conceded 1 goal in the last 3 games with him in the sticks. Macaulay Bonne would have been easy for him to shrink after that absolute how should we call it, shambles of a miss against Cheltenham. A lot of strikers, you wouldn't see them again for 15, 20 games because they wouldn't be able to get out of the head. He has come back and he's banging in the goals and making things happen even when he doesn't score. And Lee Evans is another example, someone who had a shaky start to the season. People are saying, oh, he's not the player we thought he was. And he's come back and he's got a hat-trick and assist. So these are really good signs, aren't they?
Yeah, there's others as well. Like, I think not necessarily this season, but I think you have to give great credit to Janoi Donassi and how he keeps. We joke about it and the Denaissance and all of that they've been short-lived in the past. I've got a feeling this one may live on a little longer, but that's great character to keep from all of the knocks that he's taken during his 3 years here. It's been ridiculous. His Ipswich career is laughable, really, how it's happened. But every time he's called upon, he's ready and he keeps coming back. And he's one of the most laid back footballers I think you could ever wish to meet. But deep down, there's some real steely character there to just be ready to produce and not let people down. Rakim Harper as well. Yes, it's only come from the bench in a couple of appearances. But I think he's shown some character as well to kind of come on and try to influence games, having been dropped and had his own struggles alongside Evans. So, character emerging, partnerships emerging, individuals emerging, and all that adds up to a team that's emerging as well. Just got to keep it rolling.
Superb. I like that, Hutchie. Before we move on, any other notes from the 6-0? As I say, let's not move on too hastily, Hutchie, because we've never had a 6-0 to talk about before. So if there is any more we can kind of squeeze out of the stone of this 6-0, I think we should. So anything else that you can bring to the table? I note, by the way, I enjoyed. Obviously, I wasn't there, and people who are watching would have seen this. But Bonne tried his trick again, didn't he?
He did. He did. It wasn't going to happen this time. I think the goalkeeper was looking him directly in the eye while it was happening, but he tried, and it brought a few chuckles.
Maybe they should use him as a decoy now, because obviously keepers are going to know. So Bonne's on one side and another player's on the other side. Maybe we should have like a pincer movement. So he's watching Bonne. Yeah,
I like. Who should we nominate for that? Fraser.
Fraser, yeah, or Burns. It needs someone with pace, isn't it? So
okay, I like it. If another goalkeeper gets done by Macaulay Bonne doing that this season, they deserve to be left out of their team for all eternity. If you allow, shouldn't have happened in the first place, but if another goalkeeper falls for it, then there's absolutely no excuse whatsoever. The atmosphere was great at Portman Road. I think fans have waited for that for a long time. Under the lights is always better. It just is, and to produce that under the lights at Portman Road in front of a really big crowd. I was having a little think this morning about when the last time a Tuesday night game felt you came away with that feeling, and I went back to the Wimbledon game at the start of the first League One season when Caden Jackson scored that 93rd, 94th minute winner. Slightly different, obviously, but that same feeling. That just haven't had anywhere near enough of it at Ipswich over a prolonged period. So this Ipswich team have entertained us this season. They haven't got the results and they haven't been in the right position in the table. And there's been some real weaknesses that we've been able, you can see from a mile away. But I think we could all acknowledge, even during those struggles, that the team was entertaining. And this was just the culmination of all of that. But yeah, hopefully there's a lot more of it to come.
Can we also appreciate again, we talk about biggest wins, best performances in town history. I'm putting it on paper now that saying I don't think I've ever seen a better knee slide at Portman Road than Lee Evans. Everything about this knee slide was perfect. We shared a clip on the Kings of Anglia Twitter, so if you've not seen it, go and look at it. It is everything about it. the kind of construction of it, the point at which he starts the slide, he slides. The duration of the slide takes him off the pitch at a perfect pace. There's no kind of falling over or stumbling at the end. It just comes to a natural conclusion. And as he slides to an end, he's got a big grin on his face as Wes Burns comes running across. For me, that is almost the most impressive thing about the evening. I love a knee slide. I love a celebration. And that one was perfect, Hutchie.
Yeah, I saw your tweets about that. I completely agree. He smelt the right conditions as well. A bit of a greasy top.
Yeah.
He knows what he's heading in for, and he knows there's a camera there.
Yeah.
Even better. So yeah, I'd agree with you on that. There's been some horrible ones of those, and I do worry about people like doing their knees doing that because some people just don't know how to do them. But clearly, Lee Evans. The thing I like about Evans is that he also kind of had the kind of rocked back look.
Yeah,
wasn't too upright, which is why people tumble over at the end. You kind of have to. The conditions have to be right, and he knew they were right, and that's why he got 10 out of 10.
You've got to fully commit to it. And as you say, on the imperceptible rating scale, that has to contribute to that 10, I reckon, Hutchie. For me, anyway, it would for me. And the other thing I want to know, just before we move on, peek behind the curtain time. You and Stewie have covered some difficult times, shall we say, at the club over the past few seasons. It's not always been fun. In fact, at times it's been very, very difficult and unpleasant for a number of reasons. So when Town get a win like that, 6-0, as I say, this is the biggest win we've had as a Town reporting team, certainly since I've come on the scene. I think the last 6-0 at Doncaster was shortly before I started as sports editor. Funny story there, Hutchie. We didn't have any pictures from that game.
Yeah, I have heard Mr. Page, Warren Page, our photographer, discuss this.
Yeah.
Every single time we've been to Doncaster since in the car, every time Doncaster has been mentioned, I'm aware of this story, and it was brought up again on Tuesday night.
It is a classic. I should probably just explain how I brought it up. Essentially, we didn't have any kind of staff snapper going to the game, so we'd asked for. This was before I was sports editor. I'd just like to point out it wasn't on my watch.
It wouldn't happen. Wouldn't happen now.
Would not happen on my watch. Anyway, so we'd gone with a local agency who then just sent us pictures of Doncaster players. Connor Wickham scored a hat trick. Not a single picture of Connor Wickham. All pictures of Doncaster players. Terry Hunt, the editor, went ballistic, shall we say, and we ended up frantically sourcing some. Again, I wasn't involved, so I don't know how it happened, but we ended up getting some pictures in the end. Anyway, funny aside, as I was saying, Hutchie, what's it like for you as a journalist who covers Ipswich Town, follows them home and away, has been there through a lot of shit, like I say. There's not been a lot of highs, really, in your time covering them. When they win 6-0, what's it like?
Easy.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's easy. It's a lot more fun deliberating whether somebody should be awarded an 8, 9, or 10 out of 10, rather than 3. It's just not. It's just fun. It's easy. Everybody's in a good mood. Paul Cook's in a good mood. The players are like. The last time I interviewed an Ipswich player after scoring a hat trick, I think was Daryl Murphy. Scored a hat trick at Rotherham back in 2015-16. That's the last time I spoke to. Grant Ward scored one since then, but I was working elsewhere then, doing a little sabbatical. But it's just easy. It's fun. It's nice to talk to people who are the amount of times that you end up speaking to players who have just lost again, and the weight of the world is coming down on them, and it's not fun. But this is fun, but we need so much more of it. We need winning runs now. I'm going to be greedy. I don't need 6-0 every time, but just need more of it. Momentum. Yeah. Enjoy it.
Do you and Stewie kind of cast like little grins and smiles and laughs at each other as the goals are going in? Because obviously, I referred earlier there to me writing the star back. You're also writing the report, so you've probably put a different top on it. God knows how many times during those goals going in, Hutchie.
Yeah, this is an easier way to do it. Adding to leads is fine.
Yeah.
It's when it's the horrific last minute collapses that are the issue on writing those reports, because the whole narrative changes. Scoring 4 is the same vibe as scoring 6. That's fine. But it's just smile. It's just smiling. It's laughing. It's the same. I guess it's the same emotions that fans in the crowd will feel. It's the exact same thing, but just with a laptop in front of you.
And just by way of putting a cap on this, you sent me or I think it actually was Rossi in the group, sent us a link to Paul Cook's interview with Sky post game. I think it was Sky, and if you've not seen it, I will share it because it's worth watching. So it's the same reporter who I would say was fairly aggressive with his questioning after the 5-2 home defeat to Bolton, essentially putting it to Cook that his coaching was no good, in a quite assertive and, as I say, aggressive manner. So same reporter is interviewing Cook after a 6-0. And there are many ways you could approach that as Paul Cook. You could say, I'm not talking to you. I didn't like your questions last time. But no, he handles it very well, I would say. He answers all the questions, but in a manner in which leaves no doubt that he wasn't happy about the line of questioning last time. So if you're looking for a grin today, as I say, I'll share it via the KOA Twitter. Go and watch that. I enjoyed it. Hutchie, what did you make of it as a journalist?
I've been on the other end of that. Similarly, I'm not completely sure I was deserving of it with previous managers at previous clubs, but just a reminder that managers never forget. That would be, and that it's all about how you ask your question rather than what you ask.
Absolutely, 100%. Who was the frosty manager with you then? Name names.
Mark Cooper, he's currently the manager of Barrow, was the manager of Swindon for a couple of years. We didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. A lot of things.
Okay, we'll leave it there. This is for the lost tapes one day. We'll tell the stories. The Paolo Di Canio, all that sort of stuff. Fantastic.
We can do that one day if you want. We didn't get on.
We should do that actually. We should do that as a next. I mean, we've never ever done another KO Extra Time, have we? Since the famous now infamous Crisp episode. Maybe we should do a lost tapes special where we just talk about stories, just share stories.
A lot easier to do if the team is. The reason we've probably not done another one about crisps is because it hasn't fit the vibe of misery and downward spiral that this club has provided us with for the last 3 years. So, good teams equal more novelty podcasts would be my vibe.
100%. Again, there was a delicious irony in the fact that Chris podcast was pinned to the top of our feed during the weekend that Paul Hurst was about to be sacked, I think. Anyway, it says a lot about the Hurst era. Let's move on, Hutchie. I've enjoyed talking about the 6-0. It's been tremendous fun. And I know the rest of the Kings are also equally excited who can't be with us today for various reasons. You weren't with us last week because you were at a family wedding in Scotland. And my goodness, Hutchie, can I just say, the pictures you sent me of Scotland looked amazing. I love Scotland, one of my favourite places on earth. And the pictures you were sending me, fantastic. Just tell people about that castle you sent me. So this is just on the outskirts outside of Aberdeen, but it's literally on the edge of a cliff. Looks amazing. I mean, for people like me who had these things to list of places I must go and see, what's it called and where is it?
Scotland was on form over the weekend. It was at its best. It's called Slains Castle, which is near Peterhead, just north of Aberdeen. It's just Scotland are that awash with castles that they would happily just leave this one right on the cliff, completely derelict, nothing around. And you just go clambering around it. So like climbing up the towers, like sheer drops down to cliffs beneath you, no fence, no nothing. So yeah, it was great. A bit dicey when you've got a 3-year-old with you. You do need to keep your wits about you. But yeah, it was great. I'd thoroughly recommend that part of the world if anybody fancies getting away. It's beautiful.
That just adds peril, doesn't it? Having a 3-year-old in a disused castle right on the edge of a cliff. I mean, keeps you on your toes, like you say.
Exactly.
The beauty of Scotland, it is genuinely, and I don't say this lightly, as a country, the places you can go in Scotland, the Highlands and all that, they're magical. You know, it's ethereal. It's visceral. You kind of feel it more than see it almost, if you know what I mean. And there's very few places like that. I'm going all Alan Wicker now, aren't I? I'm going all travel show Heath. But I mean, other places like that, Rome, I would say, is another place that is has that kind of. It's more than just what you're seeing; it's the whole feeling of it. If you know what I mean. Anyway, I'm digressing, Hutchie. This was
that's another podcast. We'll do
Yeah.
it. Me and you can do a Scotland one, and we could do it in the voice of that Scottish guy that always talks about the coast.
Yeah,
You know the one I mean, with the long hair.
absolutely.
Yeah, just do that.
We could do a KOA on tour travel special, and we just trade places to visit, get people to add to their list. Anyway, this was a very long segue into saying you weren't around on Friday, and Thursday, in fact, when we last recorded the pod, and you very kindly gave us each 5 non-existent grand, imaginary grand, shall we say, to bet in the £1 million picks. Now, you haven't listened to the podcast, which is an absolute disgrace. I listen to everything, whether I'm on it or not. Obviously, you were busy though, so I'll forgive you. So now, friend, I have some bad news for you.
Oh dear.
What?
You've won loads, haven't you? You've won loads of money.
Define. I mean, what really is winning? First of all, I mean, is winning just having a good time with what you've given us? Because if so, we won. We won plenty, mate.
Great.
If you're defining it by actually, did we win any money for you? The answer would be no, we didn't. We lost all your money. We spunked it up a big wall. So you're 15k down, I'm afraid, mate. Mike Bacon went all in, 5 grand of his own money on the first corner.
Well, he's a fool. Never bet on things like that.
And he lost it. He lost it all. So he's now, the reason he's not here today is because he's got to get another job to cover that loss. So I'm afraid, Hutchie, that money you gave us, as nice as it was, I wouldn't trust us with that again, because we don't know what we're doing. And we all lost. So you're 15k down.
What did you bet on?
I bet on Town to score first and it to be 1-1 at half time, which I thought was a reasonable bet.
Halfway there.
Yeah.
No, this is a Sheffield Wednesday game, isn't it?
Yeah. So obviously that didn't happen. I can't remember what Ross bet on, and Sue had a similar bet, but again, didn't. I mean, all in theory, decent bets, but did not work out in practice. So sorry, friend, we've lost you 15k.
Oh well.
The next question, obviously, is how you're going to go about winning that back. And I know you've got cash in abundance and plans to spend it. So what are you going to do before we get into previewing Accrington Stanley? What are you going to do with your bets this weekend?
Two bets, 120 grand in total. Your losses took me down to a square £800,000.
Decent.
So I'm going to use 120 of that. I'm going to put £100,000 on Ipswich to win either half of this weekend's game. So They just need to win a half one way or another. At 4-6 would return £166,666 and 66 pence.
So it doesn't, in that scenario, it doesn't matter if they lose the game as long as they win one of the halves.
Yep, they could be 5-0 down at half time and just score once in the second half and lose 5-1, and I win.
Okay.
So I'm in for that, and I'm just going to chuck a little £20,000 on Colby Bishop to score any time in this game. He's a player that's caused Ipswich trouble in the past, and I'm going to chuck £20,000 at that, which would return 70.
So there are your bets. Town to win either half and Colby Bishop to score in the game, basically.
That's it.
As you say, a player with history. He was linked with Town, wasn't he, over the summer?
Cook, he was one. I think Cook's a fan of him. Has been for some time. Clearly, Gary Roberts knows him well, former teammate. He's one that they very, very definitely had some serious considerations over, I think. But once the Macaulay Bond deal got done, I think that was probably off the table. He was just one on that they seriously considered on a bit of a list. But yeah, he's always done well for them against Ipswich. So a little 20 grand on him to score.
Okay, mate. Shall we talk about the trip to Accrington? Historically, not a happy hunting ground for Town. Was it Accrington you rocked up one time in a Merc? Was that Accrington?
Yeah, it was Accrington. Yeah.
And was that also where you saw the celebs who weren't celebs off this morning, or was that somewhere else?
No, that was Rochdale.
Okay, fair enough.
You got the wrong Northern Outpost there.
Easily done. Friend, just by way of looking ahead to this game, I've just clicked onto Accrington's last few results. It doesn't make for happy reading if you're an Accrington fan. They lost 5-1 at Oxford on Tuesday. Before that, they drew 3-3 at Morecambe. And before that, they got tonked 4-1 at home by Wigan.
Yeah.
So they're not on the best run of form. And before that, they lost to Sunderland. So
Yeah.
they're not in form, one would say, although they are kind of mid-table. What are your kind of opening thoughts on this game? Because clearly Town bounced into this game with a great deal of momentum, and sport is all about momentum. And Accrington don't really seem like they have any momentum.
No, it's going to be a very, disregarding even that, I think it's going to be a very, very different game to the Doncaster game. They're not going to win this game 6-0. But you're right. Ipswich have history at Accrington. It's not great history, although they did win on their last game with Paul Cook sat in the stands, trying his best not to be the manager of the team, despite being officially appointed just 3 or 4 hours before kickoff. He wasn't in charge that night. But this team doesn't have history at Accrington. These players don't. It's fresh. I think that page can be turned now, hopefully. And it's just a game against a solid Accrington side who, from the looks of things, are a very similar side to the one that we've seen over the last. This is the 4th visit that we'll have had up there. It's like Sykes in defence, Nottingham, Keneally, McConville, Colby Bishop. It's a similar group of players, but I don't. They're not gonna make things easy for Ipswich. But I would really hope they'd go there and win this game. You need to go to these places and win. And I feel quite confident that they might.
Okay. Apologies if you hear a dog barking in the background. Benson's causing trouble today. It's not about Accrington, though, of course, Archie. It's about Town.
No.
We're going to Accrington Stanley off the back of a 6-0 win. Unbeaten in 3 games, only conceded 1 goal. It's about what Town do, about how they impose their will on this game. So what do you do with the team? I mean, do you just stick with the same team? Is there anywhere you'd like to see it freshened up in any way?
Not really. No.
Even if Edwards is fit, for example, do you say no?
No. I think he, as harsh as that is, given that he deserves the way he played during the first weeks of his career, you'd want him in the team. But no, I wouldn't chuck him straight back in at all. The only 2 that I would even consider changing for this would be if Burns or Selina are a goosed. To use a Mick McCarthyism, he's under a bit of pressure, isn't he? Not going so well for Mick at Cardiff at the moment. He played Mark McGuinness as a fullback. That's where it's at. He had 5 centre backs on the pitch the other night. Still lost, but no, I'd go say I think you just have to go with the same 11. I think if you think Selina's maybe reached a limit of how much football he's played in a short space of time after coming back, you'd maybe consider dipping him out from the start, but not really. If I'm honest, if they're good to go, play them, build the momentum. Clearly these guys are all going to get a rest on Tuesday when Ipswich go to Gillingham in the Papa John's. Selina's not playing in that game, so that for all intents and purposes, this group of players will have a free week leading up to, I think is it Shrewsbury next Saturday.
Yeah.
So there's a break coming. There's a free midweek for the frontline players. So go again, please. Very simple.
I like it. So go again. I would agree with that, certainly, and I'm sure a lot of people would. What are you saying then for result, Hutchie? Prediction time. Is it going to be
2-1 Ipswich? Nice, quite comfortable. They'll win one of the halves.
Yeah.
You have to win one of the halves if you win 2-1. So there you go.
Colby Bishop to score for Accrington.
Yeah, and everybody's a winner then, particularly me. So
there you go then. 2-1. You're saying I fancy Town to do it as well. I might go 2-0. 2-0. So we'll see. Keep that run going for Hladky as well, because I'm liking the way he's bouncing back from his early season adversity.
That's why I've got my pink.
Is that it? That's the theme.
That's why I put it there, because I'm pleased for him.
You can see just like if you're just listening on audio, Hutchie has a rack of Town kits from over the years behind him, just over his right hand shoulder. And today he's brought to the fore that lovely pink goalkeeper's kit. Oh,
If anybody wants to buy the Spartak Moscow shirt that's over the other shoulder, get on eBay. That's available.
There you go. Hutchie hustling as ever. Any other notes, Hutchie, before we take our leave and get on with the day?
I'm going to watch Never Lost at Home again tonight.
Are you?
Yeah, my wife
Wow.
wanted to go.
Oh,
so
nice.
So I'm going again.
Now today, mate, I know before you went on a date night with Stewie at the press night, and you didn't go backstage, but today, if ever there is a time that you can impress the wife with access all areas, no, they know me. Come on, let's go backstage. Let's go and see the stars. That's what you need to do tonight, mate. Surely.
we'll see. She's got an early start for work tomorrow, so maybe we'll have to go before, but I don't want to put them off.
What?
just distract them from their vocal warm-ups or whatever these people do before.
Hutchie's in, extra pressure.
Yeah. Something like that.
That's a good segue, of course, to remind you to please do support our sponsors. Never Lost at Home, they're the new Wolsey Theatre. I think it runs until October the 9th, so still time to go and see it. Hutchie's going to see it again, which I think is testament indeed to how good it is. £10 per ticket, I believe they start at via the new Wolsey website. And also, obviously, Manscaped, our long-term sponsor. Use the code KOA at manscaped.com to get 20% off and free delivery, which is a tremendous deal. And they've got some tremendous things on offer. Hutchie, anything else to add before I attempt not to mess up an outro?
You go for it. Oh, how's the shoe? Is he left the shoe alone now?
He's left it. Yeah, he knows not to mess with certain shoes in the house. And clearly there, he's decided to mess with that one because he wants some attention. I've thus scolded him. He's given me the kind of insubordinate look, and now he's run off barking at something. So there you go. Little hint, little peek behind the curtain of my life there, friends. And what an exciting life it is. So having mentioned our sponsors, please do follow us across all social media, Kings of Anglia on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. I hope you've enjoyed today's pod. We've learned many, many things, including Hutchie doesn't get on with Mark Cooper. We once didn't have pictures of an Ipswich Town 6-0 win. And many, many, many other things. We've discussed many things. Scotland, Rome, Ipswich Town winning 6-0. Have I mentioned that? Ipswich Town won 6-0 on Tuesday night. Enjoy it. Let's hope for even more this weekend. Follow it with us. The boys are at Accrington. Have a great weekend if you're going. If not, enjoy it all. And we'll speak to you again next time.